If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high-quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey, I'm Will Wheaton, and I have just received a dump truck full of gold bullion to tell you to watch The Scene Snobs.
Welcome to the Scene Snobs podcast.
Welcome to the Scene Snobs podcast, everybody. I am your host, Mick Manhattan. It is Tuesday night. It is election night. Thank you guys for joining in. You may be wondering why I'm not going to be interacting with you tonight. That's because I'm on vacation. That's right. Mick is finally taking a vacation. I don't think I ever have before, but we finally reached 300 episodes last week, so I figured I'd take the next 2 weeks off. We're still going to have great content out. It's going to be a lot of fun, but I just need a break, and I love you guys. And one thing I want to start doing this month, because it is the month of giving thanks, I want to say something I'm thankful for in each episode. And I'm going to start off this episode by saying I am super thankful for you, the Snobs Nation. Thank you all for all your support, all your love, all your care. I truly, truly appreciate it. And it just means the world to me. And I wanted to make sure that during this time of thanks, I do want you all to know how much I appreciate you and how much I truly thank you for the support you've given, just sharing things or reacting to things, joining the Patreon, buying the merch. Like it means so much. Like I cannot get over how much love I see all the time, and I truly appreciate you guys for doing it. So without further ado, I do want to get this episode started because I have a great guest co-host with me tonight, the worst damn gamer ever, Chris. You know him well. He's here. Let's bring him on. Chris, come on the show, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you, one. Thank you all. Appreciate you guys.
I'm glad you finally came on, man. I truly appreciate it. It's the worst damn episode ever. That's why I'm naming it.
That's fantastic. Thank you.
So before we get started, Chris, I want you to tell everybody about yourself, where the name come from, especially, and your channel. What do you do?
All right. So my name is the Worst Damn Gamer Ever. As Mick said, you can find me on Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, pretty much anywhere that most people are. The reason why is because I just want to cover you in a blanket of gamer, so you don't have to go finding me. So if you're on one of the other platforms, you can always find me. I'm a multi-platform streamer. I do variety streams. I do a motivational stream on Mondays where I'll either play motivational videos or audio while I'm gaming or just sitting here editing, and you guys can get in the chat and talk to me. I'm on Horror with Sir Sturdy twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I do my Mother Fort and Fortnite Friday every Friday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Every once in a while, you can catch me on the Scene Snobs and at Mick at Night, and any of the other special events like the Casters for a Cause, which was phenomenal. Great thing we did for kids who need help with providing lunch or whatnot. And then on Saturday, Popcorn and Pints as well. So I do movie reviews, music reviews, gaming content. If it's there to help and it's helping, bring up somebody's spirit, that's pretty much my goal. So I greatly appreciate the opportunity to, be on other platforms and talk about stuff that's also outside of just gaming. Cause it becomes a little annoying and monotonous at some point, you know what I mean? When all you're doing is sitting there zoning out, looking at a chat, zoning out, looking at a chat. But, there's more to offer to the world. And I think that's one of the greatest things about podcasting and using different platforms to touch different people all around the world.
That was great, man. And I will say this, let's talk about gaming. So
that's fine. I'm good.
No.
All day, all night.
Because I have the worst damn gamer ever, and I know he knows his movies and such, because we often review a lot together. I thought it'd be fun to talk about video game movies. More importantly, I do want to ask a few questions about video game movies in general and learn a little bit about it from your perspective.
Sure.
But I do want to talk about open worlds. And what works and what doesn't work.
Okay.
But before we get there, what's your, I don't want to say what's your favorite video game, but what are you currently playing that you love the most? Let's start there.
Right now, my plays are a little bit different because it's more of for the content and for the streams or whatnot. So every once in a while, I got to stop myself and get myself plugged into something else off stream to kind of break it up. Because right now, a lot of the things that people want to watch are either like dungeon crawler games or first person shooters like Fortnite, Apex. I typically play Fortnite, Apex. I love games that are involving of people, just like Fall Guys. One of the ones that I kind of want to start looking at is it's called Party Animals. It's pretty much Fall Guys with cartoony animals, and you guys get to pretty much beat the hell out of each other and throw each other off maps and try to be like the last stuffed animal standing type deal. But yeah, I mostly play Fortnite and Apex for stream or whatnot. And now if I'm not playing on stream, which I'm going to start incorporating more, I love RPG games. Whether it's first person or third person, I prefer third person. I get tired of looking through the eyes of the character, and I like seeing the environment around with other things, kind of like a fly on the wall type perspective, and knowing that I'm controlling what's happening and what the outcome's going to be. So for me, RPGs are super dope, story driven. I don't care if it's linear based, meaning you start the game in one spot and the game just kind of goes down a path, and there's, you can't go certain ways. But then there's open world RPGs as well, kind of like the Batman games or whatnot, the Spider-Mans, the Grand Theft Auto technically is kind of a really big open world RPG. The counterpart to that for the Western style, Red Dead Redemption. I mean, things go on and on, but for me, I love adventure games that have a great story. So God of War, big on that, big hero journeys. I love shit like that.
Okay, I'm glad you said that actually, because I wanted to ask from the open world perspective versus the adventure game. So like Uncharted, I never played it, but I did like the movie. And now my buddy Casey, who absolutely loves the video games, didn't like the movie, and we kind of got into a lot of talk about that. And that seems to be a theme when it goes to video game movies as they're adapted. Why do you think, first of all, before we get into specifics, in your opinion, why do you think that it's hard to adapt a video game, open world or not, into a movie? Why do you think it doesn't work from your feelings and perspective on it?
See, I got a little bit of a different take on it, because I feel like, to me, it should be one of the easier things to be adapted into the new form of movie, taking it from a video game to a movie. Because if you think about it and you realize what you're doing, you're playing out the interactive story. It's essentially a movie. And Uncharted is one of those games that did it so well for me that literally you feel like you're playing a movie. You're controlling the movie. It has these great thematic and cinematic cutscenes, these great interactions and banters as you're playing the game within the characters that go back and forth with things that they say to each other, that even though you're going through the process of the journey and you're looking for things, you're hunting for things, treasure hunting or whatnot, there's banter between the different characters on screen or off screen that you still hear dialogue coming through, and they're answering each other back and forth. They're filling in backstories on each other, and they're telling history or whatnot as you're playing the game. So for me, I feel like movies are the reason why it doesn't technically work most of the time is I think it's the involvement of the idea of like executives and them trying to make money to give it to a grand scope of an audience versus trying to just cater to the fanfare of the people who already love the game. But my take on it is, if you stick true to the story and all those things that were great in the game that made it so popular, like the Uncharted series, then for me, it's gonna just rope in everybody. Stop trying too hard. Let the thing do what it does. You already have lore, you already have great dialogue and interaction. Like, half your job is done if you're taking a well put together game and just shifting it over with live action people. Now the director just needs to do his job in getting these people to recreate that off a digital scale of 3D models to the presenter, who's the actor, bringing that person to life.
Okay, I like what you're saying, because a perfect example of that would probably be the Super Mario Brothers, the first original version versus what we just got this past year. It seems, the thing I like about it too is, like, you do have good writing in it, because they're weaving the story, but they're keeping everything you want to see and more in it involved in it, like Donkey Kong and everybody kind of so I do like that. And in the original, it just seemed like they didn't understand what they were telling here. Like, it seemed like, they just were like, okay, we heard words that are describing some characters, let's see if we can put this together.
That was like a VP of a studio heard, see their kid playing that game so much, and then was like, hey, tell me about it. And they might have picked up the controller once to play the game, And whatever the hell they thought they heard their kid explaining as the story and the mission of Mario and what he's trying to do. And they basically got the gist of it. Plumber saves princess from bad guy in world of mushrooms with fungi around. And they just ran with that type deal. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, 100%. Because even like when you watch like the old TV show from back then with Captain Lou Albano, and you're like, this works. You know, like I was like, it works better than whatever else we were getting at the time, besides the games. But to push it even further, like, because then you think about like the Sonic movie, which did take a lot of
fine tuning.
It took a lot of fine tuning, a lot of freedoms, and you know, it stayed independent from like what the video games were. It pays homage perfectly to it, but it creates a whole new world for Sonic and puts him in new situations, and even like new backstory for like Dr. Robotnik. Why do you think like on the other end where they completely adapted it to something new that works, like in your opinion?
Because it has so much of the fanfare, it has so much of the holding true to the aspects of the game that everybody kind of attached to, that they've known. And whether you've played it originally or years and decades later, you got to play some of the spin-offs or some of the other adaptations, whether it was Sonic Riders, the snowboarding game, or the racing game with boards, or Sonic Forces, or like there's all these other adaptations that use those characters still. But the worlds that are created in those games with the visuals and the audio and stuff like that, Sonic Adventure, to me, one of the greatest fast-paced linear games with an awesome soundtrack. And that soundtrack is really what makes that game super fun. It's the audio cues at the right time, and then if you throw in the visuals of Sonic's powers, the little explosions, the different creatures, and the mission that he's doing, that creates a great environment for you to build off of. Now, making things able to be relatable, that's kind of what they did, because if you play the games, there's only Dr. Robotnik pretty much, and like one or two other people that look humanoid. Everything else is some type of a creature or animal. So they have to lope it in somehow, right, to get the masses in. So they make it relatable. He's somebody that comes out of a different world. You can't make it like, oh, the video game came to life, because then people are going to be disconnected from that and kind of feel like, oh, that's cliche type deal. So they kind of got to give you some aspect of it. And since Sonic's young, he has these characteristics and attributes of his personality that play into a teenager. It kind of makes sense to have some type of a guiding hand. And also, I mean, we live in a very divisive time where people are always either on one side of the table or the other side of the table with opinion, where so it's someone who's new to the world kind of needs to be able to have somebody in his corner, a trusted ally or whatnot. So that's why they brought in, you know, his caretaker guy and all that stuff. And I think it played well. I loved the Sonic movies, honestly. We were supposed to review it on Popcorn and Pints on Saturday, and I missed it because I was doing a haunted house. I was a scary clown, but
I love that.
I absolutely love the Sonic movies, and I think they're going to hold true and stand the test of time, just because there's enough of the thing that we wanted to see who played it and grew up with it, and enough of kind of the notion of a new story being told to a new audience generations later, because essentially Sonic's been around for over 30 years at this point, like almost as long as I've been alive. So we're talking 2 to 3 generations of different people who got to play it on different formats, whether it was on Sega Dreamcast or whether it was on the old school Genesis, or, you know, when Sega said bye-bye to consoles and then made the deal with Microsoft to then be able to be on the Xbox, and now we see him on the Switch, and now we see him on PlayStation. And so now he has such a blanket cast all over the different worlds of gamers that it's almost hard for them not to be like, yeah, we got to do this as a movie. But I'm glad that they're figuring out, stick to what the fans know and want to see, make small changes where it doesn't completely take away from what they are expecting, or else you're going to lose them. Or else we don't get a Sonic 2. Or else we don't get a second Uncharted. Or else we don't get, what was the other latest video? Oh, the Mario. You know what I mean? We don't get movies like that unless some of these movies, like these other studios, are watching very closely those dollar amounts. And they were like, okay, they did it. This is what worked for them. So you know what? Let's do that.
You know, I love that. And you point to that too. But thinking about it from that side of it, how much of the listening to the fans and changing Sonic, because that was like a big move within the video game world, because he looked hideous. And I love that as soon as it came out, they showed the trailer. It almost feels like somebody was like, let's release this trailer a year before it comes out. Let's release the trailer a year before it comes out. If they bitch about Sonic, it's done. We just have to fix Sonic. And they nailed it. Like that's widely considered a moment in film history where the fans truly fixed something and it made it so much better.
Yep. And that's has a huge impact even now on video game stuff, where people get tired of DLC content and, you know, them messing up certain things. But the that notion that you got to listen to the fans, you have to, because then you get flops, because then you get things that people don't want to deal with again. Now you spent hundreds of millions of dollars, because think of how big budgets have grown in Hollywood for productions. Now you thought before they were watching dollars and cents. Now they're really watching dollars and cents with everything that happens and how expensive CG is and all this other stuff. So it's important for them to do testers and do feelers. So the great part about that is that, like you said, it seems like they had the plan already, and it may have been a publicity stunt, a marketing stunt, or it may have just been them really testing the waters to see. But it almost seemed like for them to do it so quickly, within 3 to 6 months, let's say, they were able to make those changes before the actual release. It seems like they were ready for it, and somebody must have been telling them in the background, listen, this isn't going to be well received. Somebody was telling them that. And we had movies like Wreck-It Ralph and stuff like that, where we see other characters from other worlds coming in a video game world, in a digital world. So for them not to recognize something like that, or at least if somebody's telling them that behind the scenes on their crew, who's like, I'm telling you right now, guys, looks fucked up. This is hideous. Like, we need to do something. You're messing with the thing that is going to be what makes us the money. The main character, the Sonic, it's named after him. You can't do that. Like, you cannot just change the appearance of the character, especially if that change didn't occur in the game. If they never did a remake of Sonic that looked like that, you can't just decide what you're going to make a fucking property look like because now it's in a movie. So somebody was ready in behind the scenes and at least had more than half this movie with that character remodeled, sitting almost ready to go. So I think they made the right choice in making the call, and at least looking at those comments, seeing the reviews and the people like us who get on our platforms and will be like, yo, what the hell was that?
Yeah. And I'm glad you said that. One thing I do want to point out to most people too, is I think that we're getting that really helps, is Super Mario Brothers was produced by Nintendo.
Yep.
They produced it. So they wanted it to be right. They did not produce the original.
Yep. They learned their lesson.
Yeah. And I think they are, because they're producing more. Like, I know there's going to be a Legend of Zelda. There's going to be a lot more from Nintendo coming out. But the thing I like about Sonic is that was produced by Paramount, who, of all of the studios, the big studios, I would say Paramount's probably the best at like, if something doesn't work, don't just give up on it. Like, let's course correct, you know? And the reason I say is because with Star Trek properties, the James Bond properties, stuff like that, they know how to keep it going for fans, you know? And I think a lot of that comes from trust of the people making it. You know, let's put, like, and again, I'm going to go back to the Star Trek world and sort of talk about it from the Paramount filmmaking side. How many Star Trek alumni come back to direct or come back to read the show? So I love, like, something like Sonic, that gives me a lot of hope for something like a video game property like Sonic to go there, because then you get Uncharted, that I liked because I didn't play the video games. I know a lot of people were complaining about Mark Wahlberg as Sully. They said he's just not the right fit for Sully. And they were talking about people who would have been, you know, and just the character dynamic. Again, you've played it, so you would know better too, and I can't wait to hear your opinion on it.
Love the Uncharted series as a video. Love it.
Yeah. What did you think about the movie, though?
I not a bad movie. And I actually reviewed it on my podcast, The Midnight Matinee.
Well, just give a brief thing, because I want everybody to go watch that then.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed the movie. I did have gripes about certain things in the movie. Part of it falls in line with what the general masses was, but part of my gripes were not even close to some of the things they were talking about and bitching about, because you're there to see an adventure movie. It's treasure hunting. Yes, the banter and the characters are what enhances it, and that journey is what makes it great. But I had more gripes with certain things in the process of the journey and the adventure side of it, the hunting side, than more so the characterizations and the casting choices. Because Mark Wahlberg can do a great job as Sully, but he didn't. The problem is everybody's so used to and just wants Mark Wahlberg to be Mark fucking Wahlberg. Yeah. You know what I mean? So if he would have changed his voice a little bit, and he's short, he's not as tall as Sully, right? He's not fucking, like, Sully looks like he's 6'5", 6'7", some shit like that compared to Nathan Drake. Yeah. In the game, I mean. But he's also older, more salt and peppery. And I know this was technically a younger Nathan Drake and a younger Sully, but that's where some of my gripes came into with the story, is that they kind of time shifted a few things. But yeah, decent movie, put together well, iconic scenes taken straight out of the game. And some of the banter was on point. New characters that were created just for the movie, which some people hate and don't like Antonio Banderas' character or his henchmen there. But for me, that's a plus. It played well with the story. We need antagonists, and the game had their own antagonists. Why they decided not to use the certain antagonists from some of the games, or why they chose to mesh a bunch of the games together, I don't know. It's almost like they wanted to try to play it safe and make a movie that if they needed to put it as the end point, because it may not go further to have extras, fine, cool, we did the best we could, we made as much money. Or it's at a medium point where if we want to, we can elaborate on this and keep it going and keep milking that cow.
Yeah, and it's video games are so weird for me, because when you think about the bad versus the good, even when they're remade, because video games, I feel like you have to remake if you get it wrong the first time, because just sequelizing or doing things doesn't work, because you want to make sure that jumping off point creates a franchise, because that's what they're doing in the video games. Why not? So, but I think about like we have very successful animated movies with like something like Pikachu, which is video game based. Not Pikachu, Pokemon. But then you get a great adaptation of a live action in Detective Pikachu.
Yeah.
But then you come over and you look at movies like Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat, and it doesn't seem like they can hit. Like, it just doesn't seem like they can make those work. Do you think maybe it's fighting games or versus that, or?
No, I honestly, I think that was the wrong time, wrong character set, and wrong people to make the movies, because it takes to recreate something. Okay, we're not looking to completely recreate it. We're not looking to reinvent the wheel here. You know what I mean? That's just completely disrespectful to the fans who already enjoyed it, that spent their money. The reason why you're making it is because they spent their money. So now you're trying to give them something to watch. You know, you're trying to make money off of it in a different way. So you're completely negating the whole fandom that created the thing as an entity, that made it a thing in the mainstream. So that's completely disrespectful to the consumer, because you don't give a fuck. You just want to make out a movie, and hopefully people will go watch it at that point. Without the right people who understand the story or cared about the game or cared about any of those characters in the game, connected with them, you're not going to get that. You're going to get that empty soul of a game, or a movie, which is the Street Fighter, which was kind of the second Mortal Kombat. The first Mortal Kombat was borderline, because they did a bunch of things in it that cater back to the fandom, but then they also strayed away from it. My problem with that first Mortal Kombat movie is literally just the time and era, because that way they were trying new things. CG was just becoming really big, and the scorpion gimmicks and, you know, the reptile gimmicks and stuff like that, like in their powers, it's tough at that point in time to create it in a live action where it feels connected in the movie and it feels real. Where now we see with the new Mortal Kombat that they can do it. We already know they can. Like, I feel like this is the best time in history for filmmaking, especially for special effects. But there is still some time left to perfect it, because we can still see things, especially when they do blood or they do certain special effects within movies that are supposed to be the selling point, kind of, and those things that really just give you that hit home, like that's it, you pulled it off. It's not 100% there yet. It's much, 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 much closer, and I love it. Right now, animated movies are where the CG works the best, because it's cartoony. It's really easy to hide imperfections where it's supposed to look cartoony. But if you're mixing it with live action, you get certain hiccups with the meld of the digital world with the real world. We see the thing, even if we talk about VR or augmented reality, where you put on the headset and you might see the world around you, like Pokemon Go, or on your phone or on your VR headset, where you see the world around you, but you can still tell the things that are being projected in front of you on your world, it's not there, kind of. It looks like it's there and it's on the floor or it's running around, but it's not perfect. You know what I mean? You can still tell the difference even wearing the VRs or whatnot most of the time.
Yeah.
So we're getting there.
Well, I do not feel like VR is going to take off as successful as I think most people do, until it's truly perfected in such a way where we don't have to wear this stuff. I know it's something, or like, even if it's just enter a room, or like we can, like, I'm not the technology guy for it, but I still maintain, I hold solely to the fact
you're talking Star Trek holodeck,
sort of
war room. Yeah.
Like, I'm thinking, like, that's the only time you're ever really going to get it to take off. And the reason being is because if porn doesn't immediately go to it, we don't invest our money into it. It's true. Like, think about every aspect of technology in some way where porn is involved, right?
Yep.
The mass publication of magazines came in because porn magazines were coming. Then you get TV. Then the VCR is what porn shows over beta. So VCR, the VHS became huge. And that's why Laserdisc didn't work. That's why all these things didn't work. Cable worked because then there were porn channels. You know, you could do that because you couldn't do it on a regular network. DVD, you know, they chose DVD. So then VHS started to die off, you know, because now it was being mass produced because it was easier on DVD. And if you remember the great fight between HD and Blu-ray, porn, as soon as porn chose Blu-ray, it went that way. So to think about, so I even think with video games, it's playing such a significant part into it. Yeah, they don't make really porn video games. I mean, they do, but like, it's not readily available on all consoles and stuff like that. So it doesn't matter for it in that instance, but I think we see more of those technological advancements even then in terms of picture quality. So if it looks weird in that set, and I don't know because I don't have one of those sets, but like I've seen pictures of how it looks. So if it's going to look weird in one of those sets, I don't see porn going to it. I think it has to be the perfect experience before porn will adopt it. So I'm kind of waiting for that. Like, how will VR take off? Because it exists. It's been around for years now. And I don't feel like it's every household wanting it as much as like you would think.
Yeah, it's crazy to think how long VR has been around, because it's been something that's been played around with literally since the 70s or whatnot. And, you know, Nintendo tried to do it with Virtual Boy, and that didn't really work out well. Like, we had tons of things. We had this this big octagon thing that you could put on your headset, and you move around on it, and it's like you playing the game. But there's so many different things that they need to fine tune. And now it's getting better with camera tracking all over the device and the sensors and the hand controls and stuff like that. But obviously it's something they want, because it's been something that they're working on for the last, 40 years.
I'll tell you what, they have been working on VR. I think the new fight right now is which is going to be the more successful, and it has nothing to even do with each other. VR, are we going to put all of our money into VR, or are we going to put all of our money into robotics? Are we going to get the real dolls, the Android dolls, who are like the sex dolls and stuff like that? I know it sounds crude.
I mean, we got all that already. Go check out Japan, bro. Like, people are marrying people are marrying programs, AI programs right now. Like, I get more love and affection as she talks to me nice, and like, it's crazy. But yeah, hospitals use robots to swaddle babies that their parents aren't available or whatnot, to give them that warmth, and they can turn on a heat generator in the robot to give that baby that feeling, and like make a false heartbeat so the baby feels connected. Like, there's so many great adaptations for robotics and AI. Again, my biggest fear is just that, unfortunately, the human condition comes in and somehow fucks it up, and we get the Skynet effect instead. But that's a whole nother rabbit hole we can go down,
dude. Yeah. And then porn will just buy into that. So, no, but I'm telling you, like, I just feel like right now the big fight isn't HD movies versus Blu-ray. It's VR versus. Do we want to go into a fake reality a la Ready Player One, or do we want to go into Westworld? That's our choices right now. That's like where we're going.
According to Elon Musk, between the AI video editing and also the gaming that we have coming, and the types of things, like he's working on the chip, the Neuralink, and that you can put in your brain. There's not only glasses that have been in production and testing. There's eye contacts that you can put on for augmented reality, so you can like Minority Report shit and like move tasks with your eyes, and literally run like Windows and different programs and stuff like that, and surf the web literally just by eye movement and stuff like that. So I mean, there's always been those technologies. Like, what's the guy who was stuck in the chair?
Stephen Hawking.
Stephen Hawkins. I mean, that technology alone, right there, his eyes are what would make the words come up, and then the AI voice so that he could communicate. And we're talking about one of the greatest minds in the world, and we're talking for the last 30 years, 40 years before he died, he was, involved with the implementation of that, the use of it, showing it to the world, and using it for the quality of life, that he could have. So, I mean, it's definitely something that's going to be there. It's definitely something that's coming that a lot of people need to. But what I was saying was, Elon Musk is saying that we're coming to the time where people are going to be so plugged in and in those headsets, or even where it's no longer needed to be on something to that you're in something, that it's going to be tough to be even differentiate what you're literally seeing as real versus what's something that's created as a digital image to you. It's insane. And this is one of the 4 leading technological people in the world who also works in that and also has teams working on that. And he gives off all these different informations and warnings and just trying to let people know, like, you gotta, what I'm taking from it is like, yo, you gotta strengthen your mind so you can easily see through what's not real, what is real type deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And the more
AI generation with AI adaptation of editing software, it's tough. We get tracks now that are made by an AI, but we think it's the actual artist. We get songs that are literally catered to your words if you want to in the voice of the artist. So now you can create your own tracks as if that artist is singing it just for you type. There's so many fucking crazy things that it's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing to me.
I 100% agree. And so I really like what you're saying. Like, that's the thing. And as we're talking about it more and more, like, and getting away from the video games, we're going into the social media aspect and what we see with AI and what they're creating and how it's creating these, it like boggles my mind. Even like the models, like they're starting their own AI Instagrams to get even more.
Yep.
You know, it's such a weird industry that you see it kind of going all over the place, right? It's such a wild west right now between podcasting, video, videography work, you know, content creation in a whole, that now that AI has been added to it, it's been such a tool that helps. But even from that aspect where you have even like people fighting for the morsels of like this, what we're doing.
Yep.
Again, it's free market. It happens. That's commerce. But AI is definitely helping certain people way more, for sure.
Yeah.
Because like some of these AI pictures you see of people is fucking astounding. You know? So yeah.
What's what was it? Was it Up? Not Up. Wall-E. Was Wall-E the one where the humans are so lazy they're just watching TV all day and the robots are doing everything? They send the robots to work and all that.
That's Wall-E.
That's kind of where we're going. And then we also have, like you said, Ready Player One, so that we do get back to the video game topic here. That's where I think it's going to be really tough for some people, because right now it's always been a discussion of people being on the internet or being in chat rooms or playing Xbox Live, which that was one of the biggest movements to online that changed the world pretty much when Microsoft did that, where all of your consoles could be connected over the internet to play these games together. People are going to want to stay in these characters now, especially that you're not controlling it through a controller. You're controlling it with your mind, your eyes, you're moving. You are that character at this point. There are going to be people that are never going to want to leave. Let's say like a world like Skyrim, right? Where they love fantasy. Like think of a LARPer, you know, a live action role player who likes to dress up, go to a park with a bunch of other people in the community and play out certain scenarios of mythical time. Now they can literally become that person, behold and hold those powers and not have to imagine it, literally see it before their eyes on a screen, go looting for things and find treasures and learn spells. And in their mind, they're literally going to be fooled into thinking that they are that person and that character. So they're not going to want to leave that world that they created, that avatar. They're going to want to embody that and control that, because some people just feel like, you know, the trials and tribulations of their real life are too much to handle, where they can go into a world that they've, you know, molded to them using a character and an avatar, and you know, that's the escape for them. Now, is that too much of an escape? Is that when video games becomes dangerous, when a person can no longer be productive or live out their purpose in life? That's where it becomes kind of like, or do we all need to mind our own businesses? And if they feel like, okay, this life isn't good enough for them, but they can have a better life here, let them rock out and be happy. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, until we live in a utopia, unfortunately, like, who can enjoy what? Like, I always like that idea, and like to bring it back to Star Trek, being a Trekkie and like the holodeck side of it. Like, I think that's where you get. I think that's the healthy. I think honestly, Star Trek is the healthy barometer for many, many things. But to understand like what we want out of life and like that peaceful society and such,
yeah,
and being that with the holodeck, like, yeah, there are some people go on there and they have sex. They've experimented with it. There are people who go on there just to hang out with friends or go on adventures, whatever. And I think that's, to equate that to video games and kind of how we handle it today, that's exactly what it should be used for. We have so much of a fight. Well, not us, but like there's a demand by certain groups that don't want the video games. It's against whatever, blah, blah, blah. Makes no sense, but fuck it. they're so against it. It's like, but that we're not recognizing and treating movies, television, not as an escape. Like it can be a personal escape from horrors and stuff like that, or video games especially, but as an escape to the fact that we have this reality of like, we go to work every day, and that shouldn't be a normal thing. It shouldn't. Like I can philosophize for days and people will go crazy over it because I'm sure I'll piss somebody off. But if you really think about it, why do we live in a society where we work and we're dragged down and we have only so much and blah blah blah? It's because poverty allows the rich to stay rich, and that's the way it is. And until we decide to change that into a utopia, which we can't because there's way too many fucking people, and I know I'm going on and on and on, and that's not what this is about. But my point being, we can't enjoy true entertainment as entertainment until we get to a point where people realize we shouldn't need escapes. And that is why we have so many people attack. Like video games, all that stuff, they don't cause violence, blah, blah, blah. We always talk about that. They don't cause violence. They are, in fact, what are helping us escape the violence, and that should not be the case. All right, I'm going to be done pontificating on this situation, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
So video games as an escape it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? Because you can get so into that world, like I said, that you just never want to leave it. I mean, you used to play a video game, the chemical reactions that occur in your body, whether there's reward systems in place like trophies and achievements, whether there's overcoming challenges, you know, you die 100 times, you finally beat that hard ass boss, you finally beat the game, right? That feels really good and satisfying. And like, you get a feeling of accomplishment. You get a feeling of like, yeah, I did this. I stuck with it because I was determined, and my determination and my perseverance helped me get to that point. Like video games are such a great thing because there's so many ways to use it. Kids, like I used it back in the day to help me with my reading skills, honestly, because at times, like, especially early on, because I'm an old fuck at this point, you know, everything, you had to read everything. Like there was no voiceovers unless you got like a or a like Earthworm Jim spoon, or like the fucking the blue guy, the tick spoon, right? Or and that was the limit of our voiceovers until we got really Mario 64 and we heard woohoo, it's a me Mario on the open screen, and then that was basically the extent of it too. There was still no voiceovers. So to then, as the stories grew and the worlds grew, now you're going on these journeys, you're learning lessons, you're helping that character overcome these things. You're having to use your puzzle mind to figure out certain things to overcome and how to beat that level or overcome this obstacle or how to get to that thing up there, or like there's certain things that for me that helped mold a lot of my processes and thinking, because I struggled with math and science, even though I was always like, it was weird, right? Because I loved math and science, but I hated it because I struggled with it and it took me long to get it. But then once I started really getting into video games and I started then realizing to apply myself and stick to things and like really push, then, and I got that from video games, to try and keep trying and keep trying, keep hitting that reset button, keep hitting the continue button, keep hitting the like that made me sit down and start learning multiplication and division and how to read long stories and then how to write and narrate certain things that you know, it had me start thinking about how is this character saying this in this moment, in this situation, because you'll read it and you can read it in a monotone voice. Mario has just escaped, or you could be like, Mario has just escaped, like to give emotion and provide more of an enhancement to that excitement or that sadness or that disappointment or whatever's happening, to continue on the journey to go, okay, something else just came. Now we got to figure this out. Now we got to go do this. So for me, that's where I love video games from. And now it's almost too easy. And now it's almost like it's everything is kind of leading you on a way. And it's like they dumbed down a lot of stuff, because I remember back in the day, I would never beat video games. I would play and try and try and try and try and try. And sometimes I could never, ever beat the game. I can never get past a certain point. Nowadays, it's almost like, okay, you die a few times and the game will dumb down a little bit. The game will remove one person who was shooting at you eventually, or, you know, soften it up a little bit to have you get that growth and get past it so that you feel good and you continue playing the game. That's unfortunately takes away from, you know, the type of experience that I had with developing myself as a video game player and why I play video games. So there's different facets you can go to. Now, if we're going to bring it back to the whole open world aspect of it, how much of the world is an open world when you know it's constructed within realms and there's guidelines still that it's following, or there's borders you can't really go across, even though it feels like it's really big and huge? You take a game like Grand Theft Auto, you take a game like Red Dead Redemption or Zelda, where it's like, okay, you can go across the globe, you can go here or there, or you take a Mario game where eventually you can go from planet to planet and get different power-ups and experience different abilities and save and help different entities. But there's still always some type of a confinement. Now, to make movies an open world process, technically it's just to make a movie, because a movie, if they're doing it right, they're involving you in a whole different world that you know based on your notion of what our world is, unless you just have a very narrow scope of what the world is, that it's the world, so anything can happen, tons of things and possibilities. Different people's actions can cause different things to happen in the story, this, that, and third, lead to different things. So for me, making a movie adaptation of an open world game should be easier. Like if we were to get Grand Theft Auto as a movie, guess what? That just looks like a bank heist movie or a mobster movie or a gangster movie, a hood movie, depending on which fucking Grand Theft Auto you're looking at. If we technically, Batman, like the Arkham series and stuff like that, open world, and as the series went on, but at the same time, that's just you watching a Batman movie, like we did with Tim Burton, like we did with Christopher Nolan, like we did now. It's, to me, it's all the same. To me, it's that video games were always racing or trying to be at the point of what movies were, where you get transported to another world for those 2 or 3 hours, where you're still in a world, the world's big and grand, there's events that happen. But I feel like video games have always been, and they were only limited based on the coding abilities and the memory RAM or the hardware they're using. Now we almost have limitless hardware. Now we almost have limitless capabilities to create these huge worlds and journeys for people. We got NPCs that have their own conversations and they're coherent. Like, it's insane.
I mean, honestly, everything you're saying too, I mean, you're right. It really fucks you up a little bit because it's just so much thrown at you. Man, that's a great point. I really like your take on it. So I like talking to you. I can get you on the show more often. So as much as with everything, because we're kind of wrapping up, going on to our next segment, I think you're sticking around for the next one, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're kind of wrapping up on this one, but ultimately when it comes down to it, we can talk about, and I'm going to bring you back on and talk about the philosophy of video games too, and where it goes. Because I think I know you have a lot to say on it. We've talked about a little bit before. Unfortunately,
the brain never stops.
There's nothing wrong with that. So to go back to like the open world, and as we were talking and things like that, we don't see a lot of successful open worlds. Like Assassin's Creed didn't do well. I'm not going to count the Spider-Mans and the Batmans because they're established products already. Do you think that there is an open world, in your opinion, that could be adapted today and really work? Like it in your opinion, there's probably no way it couldn't work.
Yeah, I mean, if done right and not strayed away from the fanfare, stuff like that, I feel like I would love to see a Red Dead Redemption, a Grand Theft Auto. There'd be tons of people that will. I mean, you take Grand Theft Auto 5, for example. That game came out in like 2013. And people are still playing it. They're making new servers. They're making money off of it. And people just keep modding it and changing it. There's obviously some type of a fucking attachment to it that people just and again, in a video game, that's the point of it. You're able to be something you're not. You're able, like, just like in acting, right? An actor, or most actors and actresses, they'll tell you they love playing a bad guy or a serial killer or this, that, and a third, because everybody tries to be as good of a person as they can in the real world, because they're hoping, life gets a little bit easier and we're not affecting other people or hurting other people. But in a video game, you give them that fucking controller, and a lot of choice-based gaming, they're picking the bad guy version. Like, they're going around fucking shit up, blowing shit up. Like, you know what I mean? That's why I love choice-based games too. But
I always say, and I would love to have you back on and talk about this aspect of it too, specifically, but the idea of, I don't know, the idea for me of maybe that escape, like that's almost like correlating it to the Purge, almost like the video game give us that idea of the Purge, and it is that escape. But I'm going to save that one because that's a much deeper conversation that will go on for a while, and I want to save you. And I'm going to bring you back probably in a couple of weeks if you're open to it to come talk about this when I'm off vacation and it's live, and we can get a lot of other opinions too.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate you coming on, Chris, and thank you so much. And you're still staying on because we're going to get into our next segment. Guys, I know the past couple of weeks I haven't really Micksplained much to you, and I apologize for that. But I just want to say, let me Micksplain. What the hell is going on with Jada? There's something about Jada, Will, and honestly, let's throw a little bit of Justin and Brittany in there as well.
Ooh.
So, Chris, I'm not sure if you've been paying close attention to the news recently, but men, both deserving and undeserving, are taking quite the hit. I don't want to make this a let's empower men sort of situation, because that is not what my message is here. But I want to get your opinion on this and talk about it a little bit. You have Jada Pinkett Smith, who's at it again, completely trashing her husband, who, let's face facts, aside from the slap, who I'm starting to see in a new light even more so now, from my own speculation. Aside from the slap, Will Smith's always been sort of a, he seemed like a pretty clean guy. He seemed like a guy who just loved his family. Maybe there's rumors and stuff, but whatever. But even none of those rumors felt threatening or mean spirit or bad. And Jada, unfortunately, we'll get to that. But then you have the other side, who Justin Timberlake, who there's always been rumors. We've always kind of been like, either you like him or you don't. But at the same time, he kind of sucks. He seems like a dick. And I'm just saying, I don't know the guy. He could be great, but he seems like a dick. And then you have Britney, his ex, revealing a ton about him, to where the internet's on fire right now, trashing both Justin, for one thing, for doing the things that almost Jada makes it feel like Will does to her, but it's Jada actually doing it to Will. So for me, just to give my quick explanation, this is fucked up. First of all, Justin, apologize. Stop trying to play PR moves. Nobody wants to see NSYNC. And the ones who do probably have 7 kids at home, and I don't blame them for wanting to get out and go see NSYNC to feel like they were young again. But that's it. Nobody cares. They're all going to see Taylor or Beyonce this year. So good luck on you. And fuck you for what you did, because you're an asshole.
I don't know what he did. Jada made me stop watching all of pop culture at this point. So what the fuck happened with Britney and Justin?
So this one definitely works then, because you didn't even know what was going on, and I love that. So we get a lot of revelations coming out recently from Britney Spears' new memoir that's out. And Justin Timberlake is not so favorable in them. So it seemed like there was a lot happening. Now, again, I'm not taking Britney's word for everything. You never know what the hell's going on and this, that, and the other thing. But Justin's PR moves within all of this she's said that she claimed that Timberlake impregnated her and then persuaded her to undergo an abortion. Okay. So then that way, he didn't basically have to be a dad. He was cheating on her pretty regularly with one of her backup dancers.
Okay.
And other, like singers and stuff too, and other people out there. After that, and after they had stayed together after some cheating, like he was dating like other dancers, things like that, while he was with Britney, and it was the big public show. And tons, they put out a bunch of other stuff, and I'll read that in a sec. But just to go back to Jada real quick, and how she's basically like, it just seems honestly a little too crazy when it comes to her and what she's doing with Will. Not that I want to stick up for Will or anything, but let's be real here. Like this is just trashing at this point. You're just trashing your husband. And I love the juxtaposition of both of them, because Britney's not really trashing. She wrote a book, and Justin Timberlake is hard on, let's fix this. Whereas Will Smith's like, I support my wife and whatever. I didn't realize that it was like this, but I have a lot to learn. To me, that's more stand up. He's not, even after all of this, even his wife parading around on national TV, making him look like a fool, the guy still stands by his wife. He's still there for her. She should take a page out of his book. And then you have the Justin Timberlakes, who are trying so hard to make you not think about all the shit that he did. So, we know with Justin, after they fell in love, you got to kind of question that thing. I think Britney was in love. It doesn't seem like Justin was. A lot of the big things for her that she saw coming on was just how he treated her. He was very cheating on her all the time. And he treated her not so well, really picked on her quite a bit, and from all of the accounts. I don't have everything she said, but I was listening to the audiobook read by Michelle Williams, of all people. Academy Award winning Michelle Williams. And to hear her say the words, and there's all over TikTok, you can go check it out, but to hear her say the words for shizzle or for shiz and stuff, to in Britney's description of what Justin was saying to people, and calling him out for it, being like, he was always, whenever we were around black people, he was always trying to sound more black. And it's fucking hilarious, because that's Justin Timberlake to a T. And then you cut back and it's just like Justin looking like a spaz. I don't hate Justin Timberlake. I'll watch a movie of his or whatever. This is pretty fucked up. He should apologize, in my opinion, and stop this whole thing, because he cheated on her for years, told her, fought for her to stay with him after she found out. and he didn't tell her. She found out, and then continued cheating on her. And when she cheated on him in a moment where like he wasn't calling her and like she was on the road and like he wouldn't talk to her or stuff like that, she didn't know what was going on. Another guy stepped in. She said it was a moment. I'm not saying that. It is very one-sided though. And then he immediately broke up with her in a text message, and Cry Me a River comes out about how he got cheated on. That's some fucked up manipulating bullshit. So here's to you, Jada. Here's to you, Justin. Fuck you guys.
Fuck you, Jada.
What's your take, man? What is your opinion on this? I want a crisplanation.
All right, let's go with, I'm going to go Brittany and Justin first.
All right.
They were child stars. They weren't about their money. They got record producers and fucking executives in their ear. Like, the public's going to eat this up. He's looking at the popularity of NSYNC. Like, when are we going to realize that it takes certain type of fortitude that if you're going to be in the public eye, you're going to be that famous and that stature to like not be getting, or to get all of these different things thrown at you, as well as women who are, or men also on the other end throwing themselves at you, that you don't understand somebody giving in to temptation at times, especially at a young age. Like, let's be honest, most people aren't in a certain point mentally of like type of commitment until they're at least in their mid to late 20s, coming into their 30s, and then at maybe late 30s to 40s, they're like, you know what? Yeah, I was fucking stupid when I was young. God, this woman's good. God, this man did right by me. Like, people need to understand that there takes growth. There takes fucking shit and bumps coming down the road, especially in relationships. Like, the only way you get to the point of a strong ass relationship is by going through shit most of the time. Like, because, and I'm not saying it has to be to the extreme of these, you know, it is disrespectful. It is fucking kind of self-serving actions and all this stuff. But at the same time, isn't that what everybody's trying to do in life? Is just be happy and, you know, have a good time of their journey and through everything. I'm not saying cheating on your spouse is right. I'm not.
No. I didn't think you were, and I didn't take it as that. I will say this though. My only argument is I do agree that anything can happen in a relationship, and judging it, especially cheating, is ridiculous because you never know what's gonna happen, and you never know what moment. Again, because if you look at even this situation, she cheated on him.
Right.
There was a moment of weakness. And she says that there was a moment of weakness. And she doesn't infer that there wasn't a moment of weakness with him. It's the pattern that I think for me, and I think a lot of people that comes into it is, we definitely understand what you're saying. It's, Justin, like, she cheated on you, but you were serial cheating. And that's where, like, when you hear about, like, all the sports stars and stuff like that have wives, but in different cities they have girlfriends and stuff. It's like, I get moment of weakness, and I get being a man and having urges or whatever. That's when you don't have a wife then. But like that's the argument.
Then we can touch on the whole point of like what's everybody's role in the relationship and what making sure that certain needs are met and certain requirements are met. Because if you're going to play it up and everybody's going to love that honeymoon stage and everything's going to be great and dandy and you're going to have the crazy wild sex life together at the beginning, but then all of a sudden drop the fuck off and you're wondering why he's looking at other fucking women or why he's going and stretching his legs when we're literally genetically made to action of recreation and forming new life. Like, it's tough to me. Like, people need to understand, but most people don't get that perspective either of understanding, you're just human, until like she did. She had her moment and then she could be like, you know what, I get it now. But then she wants to throw into the mix, but I only did it once. The notion that you still did it and you had to course correct, you know what I'm saying? And let's be honest, no matter who you are, if you do something wrong once behind closed doors and you got away with it, you're not going to stop until you get in trouble.
I don't know. I disagree with that. I mean, I'm human and I've done things wrong and I've done it. And to the point where like, I've had to put myself in check and be like, this isn't something I should be doing.
But it takes a lot of self-reflection and a lot of acknowledgement.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people who don't get to that point, and they don't even have the means to get to that point. So I get that. I don't think you're wrong in just based on general society. I don't think you're wrong in any way. I do want to point out that we haven't actually quoted Brit. I've only talked about speculation. So everything we're both saying here is speculation to us and like what we think, about these things that are the headlines, because that's the world we live in. So like that's the whole point in the Micksplaination, is kind of have fun with them. So this is where we're coming from. But so
my notions are always based on real world and people I know in situations, or if I've been in certain situations and what my perspective was, you know what I mean? So that's where I'm going with it. Because at the end of the day, these are just two people.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, you're absolutely right, and I like that. And we're gonna end that there then, because I do like what you just said. We are just two people. They are just two people.
Yep.
And in this instance, they are just 4 people, and we are just 6 people. And at the same time, I can't tell you how your relationship should go or the way you should fix this or whatever. But I will tell you by my thinking, and I will explain to you, Jada and Justin, the things you did. I don't think you were in the right at all, especially Jada.
Oh yeah, no,
because
that's whew.
At the end of the day, you did hurt somebody else.
Yeah.
And you're defending by even inaction, not apologizing for that hurt. Or not even if you think that you believe that you did hurt them, they're just hurt or offended. Maybe you don't have to apologize, but if you care about them, you should at least listen.
Yep. And yeah, so do I got time to talk about the Jada side now?
Absolutely you do.
All right. So that's the thing, right? My problem with the Jada situation is the lack of empathy or care that she has when she portrays herself a certain way, especially doing red tables and getting in depth and trying to help people positively who might be struggling with certain situations of similar natures and relationships and family and all this shit. And then you go and turn around and you literally are now in the public eye the complete opposite of all that shit you were portraying yourself to be. You're dragging your man through the mud who not only has strong values to hire, but also to you because of the vows taken. And it seems like you have total disregard to that notion at all, yet you took those vows too. That's where it's like, yo, you're fucking crazy. You're delusional. And you really think, and this is the problem with a lot of shit right now in society, with masculinity, femininity, and all these different things coming into play with role switches. And like, it drives me crazy that everybody's so focused on the one perspective, you know, and right now dudes are kind of laying low because they feel like, fuck, they're going to be canceled, or damn, I can't at least say even what I'm thinking or feeling because then I'm going to be in trouble, or my wife might hate my perspective. And now that might cause turmoil because I think or feel a different way based on what everybody else as a mass is getting fed through social media and through posting and through crazy bitches like fucking Jada and boss bitches that think their shit don't stink and all this fucking slutty ass trap music and all this shit. Like, it's fucking ridiculous to me. Personal problems should stay personal fucking problems. If you need help with it, you seek a fucking professional. You don't go after the world. You don't have your fucking family involved. And you definitely don't drag somebody through the mud if fucking all they're trying to do is continually trying to face the issue and try to fix it. Come on. Give credit when it's due. Allow time to change. But you got to also be fucking involved in the movement and also the progression of it. If you had a problem with something, you tell somebody there's a fucking problem and they don't take action, I get it. You can be as mad as you want, but that still doesn't give you the fucking right to literally rip them the fuck apart and make them feel so demeaned and belittled and emasculated. Fuck you, Jada. Go fuck yourself.
You know, damn, dude. I love it. I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I definitely agree with the Jada side of it because it was lambasting. Your kids are coming out and saying, like, what are you doing? Please stop this.
Gaslighting to the ultimate, bro. And nobody gives a fuck about it except for people that see, like, you know what? Damn, maybe we are fucking up with our men. Damn, maybe we are fucking, society got us fucked up. Whoa, what the fuck?
True, but historically, gaslighting has always been a weapon used by men against women for a very, very, very long time. That is a documented fact.
Agreed.
And it's good to the point where the term gaslighting comes from a movie.
Yep.
About a guy gaslighting his wife. So I understand. Like, I'm not defending Jada. This isn't about defense of Jada. I do understand where women come from, where it's, women have always come from a point where they're behind. It's just like, people of color. So, like, they've always come from a point in society and history where they're behind. How do you get ahead when you're behind? And how do you keep trying to get ahead when people be pushing you behind? You have to learn the tactics of the people who are ahead and use it against them. It sucks. You shouldn't have to. That's not the way society should be. But because those people are still ahead, and we can argue all the way down why, no term limits, no this, no that, all the way down into the household level. My point with this is, like, I understand why women do sort of fight back sometimes with the gaslighting, and they do. You see a lot of tactics where men get mad, and when we see it in public, especially where women do things, and you're like, yeah, but I've seen 1,000 stories where men have done that to women, and we're getting mad at the one. But then you have Jada, who is completely blowing it out of the water, where it's like, you have no defense.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't said a word.
Yeah, we can literally go down any type of social aspect or problem that occurred I don't know, for the last 100 years in this country. And at every single turn, I will always say the same thing, though. Because at the end of the day, if you wanted, you know, certain things, women's suffrage rights, you wanted all this different things, right? And you guys fought for it. You got it. Great. But now we come up to a point where everybody's talking about these messages of making the world a better place, of doing things the right way and being righteous and being, you know, wholesome and this, that, and the third. Well, then guess what? If you want to create the change, you can't. I understand learning the tactics, but you're supposed to be learning the tactics so that you can change this shit and you can avoid the shit, or you can actually make it so that, hey, we now teach our partners, we now teach the men what their wrong was, so that we can literally create the change. You don't recreate and emulate it, because the cycle just continues. That's like if now all of a sudden we said, hey, fuck it, racism, yeah, now we're gonna start taking fucking Caucasian people, putting them on boats and shipping them around the world and not giving them any right. Is that gonna fix anything? No, it's not. It's gonna make things even worse.
But that's the thing. That's the elevation side of it. And what I'm saying, like, yes, but that is why we're in a circle, because then, you know, all the people in charge start seeing the people, like even just impoverished people, coming up doing the same things now, trying to fight back and get a little piece of the pie. You see that on such a huge level and minuscule level all the way around. When you finally get to this point, it is absolutely astonishing sometimes to watch everybody go against each other and keep the cycle going. Whereas you're right. Listen, learn, adapt, change. Like, I know I've become a better man by listening and learning and being, and honestly, I don't know, but like when I was angry all the time, or I was in a mad place, or I wasn't listening to like my wife or other people in my life, not just women, but like just all over, people of color that are friends in my life, and hearing what they're saying, what they need. When I just started listening and stopped being like, all right, I used to take offense to it, because it's like, you know, when you say like, okay, white people have been doing it. Well, I'm a white guy. I don't want to be considered that, but it's not that I have to consider that. I have to consider the fact that I am the same color as the people who are doing it. I am the same gender as the people who are doing it.
Yeah.
Primarily. So now, instead of getting mad and saying, well, I don't want to be that, don't look at me as that. Say, okay, I am that. So how do I fix it? How do I be different?
Right.
But that's what everybody needs to do. That's where we break the cycle. Everybody. And that's how we do it, through hope and inspiration. So sometimes, yes, I do agree that it becomes righteous. It becomes this. But a lot of times I look at it and I'm like, a lot of people are just hopeful for better tomorrow, and they don't know how to do it. Or a lot of people are just, so we need more people to step up and inspire. We need to change the game. We need to, you know, things like you're doing, or other people that I see out there, like the Motivation Mondays. Let's be motivational. Let's talk about it. Maybe I can't give you advice, but maybe we can talk about it and figure it out together. Maybe you'll be enlightened and you figure something else out, or I'll figure something else out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way we do it, like we're doing here. We just talk it out. And we have a good time while we're doing it. So
yep.
With that being said, we're gonna end the show. I'm gonna give. So we didn't do voting on Mick's movie picks because I'm off for the next 2 weeks, and these are recordings. So I'm just gonna put a movie out there. And this Mick's movie picks for this episode is from 2021. It's called Black Friday. It was a very fun. I didn't want to do horror after Snobtober, but this is more of a sci-fi movie anyway, with a lot of horror elements. But Black Friday, sorry, Chris, I blocked you.
You're good.
Black Friday from 2021. If you haven't had a chance to go see it, go check it out. It's a really fun movie with Bruce Campbell. Devin Sawa's in it. It just, I think they got, like, do you remember the movie Neighborhood Watch, which I thought was funny? Yes. It just wasn't great. I think they sort of got it right. Like, that was a fun one, because it takes place in a department store on Black Friday with an alien invasion. That's all you need to say. But until next time, I want to say thank you to Chris. Appreciate you coming on, being my guest co-host. Had great conversations with you. And thank you to all of you. I want to thank our sponsor, StubHub, of this show, of this particular episode, the worst damn episode ever. If you want to get tickets to anything, go to concerts. We got our Taylor Swift tickets there. I'm going to be getting more. I want to go see Foo Fighters as soon as they come back out. And I will get them all on StubHub. Any sporting events, the whole nine. I've never had an issue. So go check them out in the affiliate link down below. I appreciate them. I appreciate you. I appreciate you, Chris. And thank you all. Dude, you're the man. So go check out Chris on Worst Damn Gamer Ever. That's what it is. Go check him out. The links are down below. Thanks again. Remember to hit like, hit subscribe, hit that little bell so you know when more great shows are coming out. And I'll talk to you all very, very soon. Take care.